You're tuned into the Burrage Sports Show. What's up, everybody? It's the Burrage Sports Show, and we're hyped. This is the NBA playoff edition. We had the regular season, we had the bubble season. Now it's time to put up or shut up. Who's going to the championship? Who's going to win that chip? Who's going to win the Larry O'Brien Trophy? So I'm one of your hosts, Mike Burrage, and I'm here with my son,
Mike Burr.
Mike Burr always delivers. And we got a little bonus in there. Not only are we going to be previewing every game in the playoffs, the first round, we're going through the first round, we are actually going to have our first contest. A lucky winner who participates is going to win a prize. Mike Burr is going to tell you about that, and then we're going to jump right into our playoff preview.
All right, so we're launching our competition. We're going all the way through the finals, starting with the first round. It's a pick-em tournament, so you pick your team for each matchup, and then you pick the number of games you think it will take them to win the series. We're going to total up the points, and then whoever has the most points at the end of the tournament will win a special prize. We'll announce that at the end of the finals. So how does the scoring work? Basically, you pick your team. If you pick the right team in the series, you get 3 points. And you're also guessing the number of games.
So like if it's 4-2, 4-1, like that? Okay.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So you pick the number of games in the series that'll take them to win. And if you get the right number of games, that's an additional 3 points. For every game you're off, you'll get one less additional point. So if you pick the wrong team, it's a minus 4 points. So for an example, let's say I picked the Lakers in 6, but it takes them 7 games to win. I will get 3 points for picking the Lakers, and I will get 2 additional points because the difference between 7 and 6 is 1, so that leaves over 2 points. And we'll leave that in the description as well. So if you want to win the prize, get the free gift at the end of the tournament, drop your picks in the comments. We'll let you know when we'll close it off, and we look forward to seeing your picks.
All right, so you heard it. We got a contest, the special prize. We're not going to tell you what it is, but it will be nice. It will be something nice. So now let's get right into the playoffs. Let's start it off with, I think, the premier matchup, a matchup everybody want to see. It's no sense of waiting. Lakers versus the Portland Trail Blazers. The king of the regular season, LeBron James, versus the king of the bubble, Damian Lillard. Dame Dollar was getting busy. That's first round. Mike Burr, tell me what you think about that matchup.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting matchup. You got the bubble MVP, Damian Lillard, playing against the King and AD and all the guys on the Lakers. Dame is hot right now. The Portland is hot. Dame is averaging 37, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, shooting 50%, 43 from 3. He's pulling up from half court like it's a free throw. He's playing. Dame time is as strong as it's ever been. Going against my team, the Lakers. Now, Portland is tough, but I hear a lot of chatter, you know what I'm saying that Portland might, do something crazy. But the thing about Portland is they're not a strong defensive team. It's the reason why they're the AFC. They got a ton of offensive firepower, but who's going to guard LeBron James? Carmelo? Okay. Who's going to guard AD? And then when you bring in Dion Waiters, Kyle Kuzma, who's going to guard them? I see a lot of situations where they're going to have to double team, and now you see LeBron kicking into Danny Green, KCP, all the shooters. And then on the other side, the Lakers are one of the best defensive teams in the league. It's going to be no easy buckets. You got rim protectors and Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, Anthony Davis. So they're going to have to make and take those tough shots, which Dame has been hitting. CJ has been hitting, but for 7 games, and then on the other end, they're going to have to play tough defense. I got the Lakers winning this series in 6.
You know what? I have to agree. I think the Lakers are going to win in 6. And mainly because they're a more experienced team. It's a lot of experience on Portland, don't get me wrong, but not championship, not going far through the dance experience. The Lakers have that, of course, in LeBron James, Danny Green, even Dwight Howard's been in the finals. Rajon Rondo, if he's back, has a championship ring. And then I also think that the Lakers have a little more diversity. And what I mean by that is they could win a gritty game. They could win in a half court game. Portland's real chance if it's just straight up offense. They only could win it one way. They're not a good rebounding team, but they are the type of team, if they get hot, they can be very dangerous. So I think they can take a few games off of the Lakers, mainly because it's not going to be any home court advantage. This is the world's biggest AAU tournament.
Yep.
So it's just go out there and flat out ball. Portland is so hot. I think they'll be able to snatch a game or two. So I'll go with 4-2. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But I think the Lakers just have a little too much firepower.
Yeah. I think Dame is good enough he'll just go crazy, and he could at least get 1 or 2 games off of him just off of how he's playing right now. So we can go to the number 1 matchup in the East. You got the Bucks playing Orlando. This is probably the least exciting matchups out of all the exciting matchups we got. I see the Bucks taking this in 5. I give Orlando 1 game just because this is the NBA. Everybody has an off night, but I mean the Bucks are stacked. They're a great defensive team. They got too many offensive weapons, and of course Giannis, who's the MVP. So Orlando, on the other hand, I mean they got some great young players, but I just don't see them even having a chance in this series.
I don't either. In fact, I'm getting the broom out. And I'm not saying that in any disrespect to the Orlando Magic. They're building. They made the playoffs, and that's a step 1 to start rebuilding. They have the true dunk contest champion, Aaron Gordon, on that squad. Vukovic. They got some other guys who can play, but they're just not at the level of the Bucks. The Bucks are just too talented. So get the brooms out. Sorry, Orlando, but hey, you're in your hometown. You never know. They might get a little magic because they are in Florida. They are in Disney World. So, hey, they might get a little magic and win a game or 2. But I don't think they could beat the Bucks. Not straight up and not in a series. Bucks are just too strong. And they have Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, who is everything in a bag of corn chips. So I got to go with the Bucks in that as well. But get the broom out. Sorry, Orlando. It's been one.
Yep. And then the next matchup in the East is a little bit more interesting. We got the Toronto Raptors versus the Brooklyn Nets.
The defending champs. Don't count them out.
Yeah, the Nets are a weird team because a lot of people, before the bubble, most of their players weren't able to come. So people just thought they were just going to be a pushover, but they end up being one of the best teams in the bubble. Chris LeVert is playing on another level, and they got a lot of young hoopers on that team that are really producing well. But playing against the defending champs, I say Toronto in 5. I think they're too good of a defensive team to let those young guys get off like that. And they got too many weapons. Where Brooklyn isn't the strongest defensive team. They got some pretty good defenders, but trying to stop OG and Siakam and Laurie and Van Fleet in 7 games, I get Toronto out of there in 5. Toronto got them out of there in 5.
I think so too. Toronto get them out in 5. Maybe even get the broom out. Toronto was 7-1 in the bubble. They were absolutely dynamite. They're the best defensive team in the NBA. They're the returning champs, so they know what it takes to win. They just have so much talent. And Pascal Siakam is a bona fide star now. Van Fleet is very underrated. He's a star. Kyle Lowry is a leader. You got the big fella. What's the 2 centers' name?
Oh, you got Marc Gasol,
and Ibaka. They still putting in work. Norman Powell is playing good ball. They just too stacked. They're too good defensively. But shout out to the Nets. I mean, I think they exceeded everyone's expectations to not have DeAndre Jordan, to not have Kyrie Irving, to not have Dinwiddie, to not have KD, and they still went 5-3 in the bubble. So no disrespect to them. A great step forward. Joe Harris, LeVert showed that they're going to be bona fide problems in this league for a long time. They really increased their stock in the bubble. But you're going up against the defending champs. They got offense, they got defense, they got experience, and I think they're somewhat underrated. They're playing with a little bit of chip on their shoulder because a lot of people think they can't do it because of last year. But this year, I think they are going to be able to do it, and they're going to show a lot of people, hey, we're not just a one-dimensional team. We can show you that we can win. We can win. So I got to go with the Toronto Raptors in 4, maybe
You
5.
gotta lock it in.
I'm locking it in. I'm going with the broom. Forget it.
Another sweep. Okay.
Get the broom out. All right, the next one I want to talk about, let's talk about the Clippers. Let's go back to the West. Clippers versus the Mavs.
Yeah.
Hit me with that, Mike Burr.
This is one of the most interesting series, right? Because you got the new superpower in the West, the Clippers, and then you got a rising young team with a lot of talent. They're gonna be around for a while. I mean, the way Luka's playing, Porzingis, Finney Smith, you got Tim Hardaway, they got a lot of ballers on this team. And the thing that makes it really interesting is the Clippers' injury problems, right? Right now, Patrick Beverley is out. Montrezl Harrell has an injury. He's questionable for the game 1. And then all throughout the season, they barely had their whole team together. I think this is going to be a long series, but I do think the Clippers will win it in 7. I think it's going to be a tough series going back and forth. I think the way Luka is playing. But the one thing I haven't seen from the Mavericks, they haven't really been able to close games. They've been kind of inconsistent. We know Luka can hit big shots, but sometimes it just seems like they get kind of, the chemistry is off or something, and they just can't finish. And that you see that with a lot of young players. So I think that the Clippers, they have a ton of playoff experience. They got a championship winning coach. They got a finals MVP. And I think playing in the bubble, guys like Paul George, who have been known to have some questionable playoff performances without having a crowd in the away games and all that, I think he'll be more consistent like he is in the regular season. So, so I think the Clippers will win, and I'll go ahead and say it's a 7-game series.
7-game series. Whoa. Okay. Well, I picked the Clippers to win it. I know, but I might. That's subject to change. But I think they have just too many stars. You got Kawhi, you got PG, you got just, Doc Rivers coaching. I think they're just too seasoned, too strong. And I like Dallas. I do like Dallas. Luka Doncic is the real deal. He's the best rookie I've seen since LeBron James. And I mean that literally. The guy can do it all, and he's just been phenomenal his first 2 seasons, basically. But Porzingis, this is new territory for him, new territory for Luka Doncic, new territory for Tim Hardaway Jr., and that's their big 3. And I just think the experience of the Clippers and the fact you have Kawhi and PG-13, Patrick Beverley, it's just going to be too much. They're going to be overwhelmed. They might take a game, but I'm thinking get the broom out. I'm going with another sweep.
Wow.
Get the broom out. I'm taking the Clippers 4-0. All right. Who next?
It's gonna be a short playoffs if you're
short
right.
playoff for me. I'm going bold. Go big or go home. Why not?
All right, going down to the 3 matchup. We got Denver and Utah.
Ooh.
This was one of the harder ones to pick. I like Denver. They're a young team. They got a ton of talent. And in Utah, they've been inconsistent. I feel like they've really been missing Bogdanovich. He was a 20-point scorer for them this season. And they some games they look really good. Then the next game it's like, they're not hitting shots. So I'm gonna go with Denver in 6. I think that they have a legit big 3: Michael Porter Jr., the Joker, and Jamal Murray. And then they got a deep roster too. I mean, Bo, P.J. Dozier, Torrey Craig, Monte Morris, Jeremiah Grant. They got a squad.
They got a squad.
But they are a young team, and they're a little bit inconsistent at times too. So I could see them dropping a couple games, but I ultimately think they'll come out with the W.
Okay, I like jazz. It's a great type of music. No, listen to me. I like the music, jazz, but I think a gold nugget is more. I would rather have a gold nugget than some jazz music. I'm going with the Nuggets. They're my dark horse in the West. I think they're a really strong team. I think they're going to do well in the playoffs. They've been in the playoffs the last couple of seasons, so they've gotten a taste, but they just didn't know how to finish it out. They didn't know how to get to the next level. I think they take that step this year. I like the Joker. I like Jamal Murray. Michael Porter Jr. is going to be a flat out star. His time is coming, but he's getting better and better. The Jazz are cool. They're a good team. They're a solid team. But I'll take that gold nugget over that Jazz music anytime. I'm taking the Denver Nuggets in 5. Once again, I'm not playing around with it.
And another thing, Mike Conley is supposed to be out. He'll have to quarantine, so he's going to be out for 1 or 2 games. So that's a big loss too. And then going over to the East, the 3 seed there, Boston versus Philly. This is another interesting series. Obviously, Philly is missing Ben Simmons. But if you've been following Philly, they actually play a little bit better when one of their guys is out. It seems like the court is more open, and then it's no question of who's the man. They can kind of just run through Embiid. And, having 2 dominant players in the paint can sometimes be too much. And when you have just Embiid, Horford, and a bunch of shooters, it seems to work a little bit better. So, and Boston is another team. They're a bit inconsistent, right? They have a ton of talent. They've been inconsistent at times. But I think with Kemba, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they got a squad. But the big drawback, they don't have any answers for Embiid down low. I mean, Enes Kanter has never been known as a good defender going against Embiid. But the thing about Embiid is he going to be available the whole series? So I got Boston coming out this series in 6. I think they just got too many weapons. I think they have just too much talent overall, and then especially the Sixers being down one of their stars. But I think Joel Embiid they really had no low post defenders, no rim protectors. That's really been a big problem for them for the last couple of years. So I think Embiid's gonna at least be good enough to will them to 1 or 2 victories there.
Yeah, I feel you. I like Embiid. I think Embiid, when he focuses and he's not being silly, he's basically uncheckable. But he lost his point guard. Ben Simmons is basically their point power forward. He's their best passer. About his high basketball IQ. He won't be there, and that's going to hurt him. I just don't think they're going to get out the first round. I like Boston in 6 because of Jaylen Brown. I think that he's playing great ball right now. Him and Jason Tatum, they have such great chemistry right now. They're going to be a problem along with Kemba and the rest of the squad. So overall, I think Boston is just a little too cohesive right now. They're healthy right now. They're kind of clicking on all cylinders, and I think Philadelphia is going the other way. When you lose your second best player or arguably your best player in Ben Simmons, and he's your point guard, and he's the guy who sets your offense up, that's just going to be a problem. I don't think they're going to be able to recover from that. So one of the oldest rivalries in the East, one of the great rivalries in the East, especially in the Larry Bird, Dr. J years, but we're not going to get what we wanted. It would have been great if Simmons was there. It would have been great to kind of reignite that rivalry. But once again, Philly has the injuries or something weird happens, so it just doesn't work out that way. And I think they're going home in 6. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See you later, 76ers.
So you want to do the East or the West? We got 2 matchups left.
Okay.
Would you
Let's do the Pacers and the Heat.
Go ahead.
Let's do the
first.
Pacers and the Heat.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you why I want to do the Pacers and the Heat. Because T.J. Warren was bringing that heat. And I can't wait to see him in the playoffs. I hope that continues. And then one of my favorite players in the NBA, former Bull, because y'all know we from the Chi, we Bull fans, is Jimmy Buckets, Jimmy B. So I'm looking forward to this matchup. I think this is one of the most even matchups in the first round. The Indiana Pacers, the Miami Heat. I think it's going 7. And because of Jimmy Buckets, I have to go with the Heat.
Ooh.
I think he will be the difference. And so, TJ Warren, I'm looking forward to seeing you. I wish Sabonis was there with Indiana because he's such a great young talent. Unfortunately, he won't be playing. But I'm looking forward to this matchup. I think it's the best matchup, going to be the tightest matchup, but I'm going with the Miami Heat to pull it out.
Yeah, this was the toughest matchup to decide on. You got 2 young, scrappy teams, a lot of talent on both sides. You got Bubble Jordan, T.J. Warren, who's been playing crazy right now, Victor Oladipo, And then on the other side, you got Jimmy Butler and a host of guys. But so I think it's going to 7 as well. And I also got Miami in 7. For me, what was the deciding factor? When you look at Indiana's roster, one, they're dealing with a bit of injuries. You got T.J. Warren, Miles Turner, Oladipo. They're all day to day. I think they'll be available, but that's something to watch. But the real X factor here are the vets. Andre Iguodala, Udonis Haslem. You got vets that are used to playing in big moments, making clutch plays, hitting big shots, and they're going to be able to steady that young team. Whereas you look at the Pacers, they really don't have any vets of that caliber. When you got a former Finals MVP, Andre Iguodala, on there, you got Udonis Haslem, who's been in countless playoff battles. So, and then also having a coach that's won a championship, I think they'll be able to be more calm in those big moments. But I think this one's going down to the wire, so it's definitely be 7 games.
Yeah, I think so. And the Miami Heat are a great 3-point shooting team too.
Yeah,
Tyler Hero is he gonna be bananas. Gonna be one of the great 3-point shooters of all time, in my opinion. And I just think they're a little more seasoned, like you were saying. Jimmy B, I can't see him letting them lose in the first round. It's just not his nature, man. If you ask Jimmy Buckets, who's the best in the league, he'll probably say him. And I like that type of confidence. So I'm going with the Heat. But you never know, man, because it could be a close series. I love this matchup. And there won't be any home court advantage.
Yeah,
because
that's
I think these are
interesting.
two teams that will really feed off their home crowds.
Yeah.
But that's not a factor here. So, man, it's just going to be mano a mano. And I hope it goes 7. That's what I'm predicting. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, the next matchup. This would have been a perfect matchup for the NBA if you could play at home, if people could play at their home stadiums. The Houston Rockets versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Russell Westbrook comes back to Oklahoma City, going up against CP3. They've always had a little bad blood between them. It's like you couldn't make that up that these two teams were going to meet in the first round. Who do you like in this series? Rockets versus Thunder.
Yeah, you know CP3 is gonna be super motivated to get back at the Rockets. But the big question mark on this series is Russell Westbrook's injury. That's the big question mark, because there's right now they don't know how many games he's gonna miss, right? Is it just gonna be 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, 4? Like, that's really gonna change what goes on in the series. Having Russell Westbrook, the number 2 option on the Rockets, and he's a big part of their team. Russell Westbrook is a guy that brings a lot of energy, and in the games without him, you can kind of see it's not the same. When you're playing small ball, Russell Westbrook is one of the best rebounders on the team. So that's something you're missing. A guy that can start the break. He's a guy that can take you one-on-one, get fouled. So that's going to be interesting to see how long is Russell going to be out, because that's really going to change how this series falls. And then on the other side, you got then Eric Gordon is coming back for the Rockets.
Yep.
So that's a huge addition. They were definitely missing him, so he hopefully can kind of fill some of that gap while Russell Westbrook is getting back healthy. But I do think the Rockets are still the better team. I think OKC is young, they're scrappy. I know CP3 is going to be playing his best ball. He's going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder. I think this one, especially where Russ we don't know when he's coming back. I think this one's going 7, but I got Houston taking it.
I like Houston, but I want to get an update from our super producer, April. Do you have any current news on Russell Westbrook's status at this point?
Yeah, so according to Mike D'Antoni, Russell Westbrook's going to need a few days to heal up the quad strain. So he's definitely going to miss game 1 this Thursday night. So it's something that's not going to go away miraculously. So he is going to miss game 1, but they're being kind of silent on how many games is he going to miss, but definitely game 1.
Okay. Well, knowing Russell Westbrook and the competitor he is, and the fact he's going to be playing against his old team, even though he left on smoother terms than when KD left. He's
For
going to want to
sure.
play. You always want to play against your former team. It's always a little chip somewhere, a little salt over there, a pinch of this, a pinch of that. So I think Westbrook will wheel himself back into this series. And I think CP3 has the same motivation because he really felt they didn't give him a full chance in Houston. And matter of fact, one year they had Golden State on the ropes. They were up 3-1 maybe or 3-2,
Yeah.
and he got injured, and Golden State won, I think, the next 2 or 3 games in a row. And CP3 was absolutely fantastic in that series till he got hurt. So I know he's feeling a little sense of what he lost when he was at Houston, and then the fact they didn't let it kind of ride itself out last year. They kind of made him the fall guy, made him the scapegoat for what the team didn't do. So it's going to be some blood there, some bad blood there. But I think that Houston just has a little too much. The beard, James Harden, we haven't really talked about him, but he could have been the bubble MVP as well. I mean, James Harden played well in the bubble, but because he does it so much night in, night out, it didn't garner as much attention. But he played really well in the bubble. He always is going to get buckets. So I think Houston just has a little too much. So I'm taking Houston in 6.
Yeah, and I think Harden is another one of those guys that's going to benefit from not having a crowd, because he's been known to disappear in some big games, but having it more like an AAU tournament, I think we're going to see a lot of guys. That's going to be the real interesting dynamic, right? Because some guys are better in the playoffs, right? You have those guys that don't do much in the regular season, but when playoffs come around, they hit big shots, they have ice in their veins. And then you have those guys that seem to shrink in the playoffs. So that's going to be a real interesting dynamic, especially no home court, no away games. So this makes it kind of difficult to gauge this year, especially. But overall, it's all the matchups are going to be pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
It's gonna be exciting, man. First round, you got to get out the first round and get a chance to dance. So you can't take the first round lightly, especially the way everybody's been playing in the bubble. A lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. No home court advantage. Your fans can't push you through a victory. You just have to go out there and flat out ball. So just a little recap. First round, Lakers versus Blazers. We both agreed on the Lakers.
Lakers in 6.
Then first round, Clippers versus Mavs.
I got the Clippers.
Yeah, we both agreed on the Clippers. I think we got them all the same so far in the first round.
Yeah.
First round, Nuggets versus Jazz.
Yep, Nuggets.
Yeah, we both went with the Nuggets. First round, the Rockets versus the Thunder.
Got the Rockets.
We both went with the Rockets. First round, the Bucks. Now we're going to the East. The Bucks versus the Magic. We both picked Milwaukee.
The Magic.
We both went with the Magic. Then you got the Raptors versus the Nets.
Yeah, the Raptors.
Raptors all the way. Then we went Celtics versus 76ers.
Got the Celtics.
We both went with the Celtics. And then the Pacers versus the Heat.
I got to roll with the Heat, but I think it's going 7. But I could see that series going either way, man. That's the hardest one for me to decide on. But
I agree with you. I think that's going to be the best matchup so far in the young first round of the playoffs, but I picked the Heat as well. So right now we chalk, man. We all picked the exact same teams, even though I think the broom is going to be out in a few of those series. Mike Burr sees some of the series a little tighter, but we did all pick the same teams. So, super producer April, you got any updates for us?
Yeah, so since we're talking about who's going to do what in the first round of the playoffs, Skip Bayless on Undisputed today, he thinks that the Lakers are actually going to sweep the Portland Trail Blazers.
I could see that.
Well, I mean, it's possible. Well, you gotta give some respect to Dame though. He's good enough to at least will them to 1.
Yeah, but you're right. And Skip got a little agenda there. Him and Dame got a little beef going. So Skip, he could be petty. And Dame, he done back down from a challenge. He could get a little petty with you. So it might be a little salt in the mix.
And then, especially now that he said that on national TV, I think Dame is going to be even more motivated. Right. So I think the fact he said that is definitely not going to happen now.
Yeah, because Skip Bayless, before he even tweeted that, he tweeted how Dame time shouldn't have been the MVP of the NBA bubble. He said Devin Booker should have gotten it. And he also tweeted about how in the fourth quarter of the game this past Saturday, Damian, he didn't have any field goals, and his team is the one who carried it. So how is he the superstar? And I'm just paraphrasing what his tweet said. So there's some Skip Bayless Dame tension. Not sure what Skip, why he's not seeing what everyone else is seeing in the world, but very interesting.
Yeah. And shout out to Devin Booker. I mean, I think he deserves some bubble MVP votes, but they didn't get in.
Yeah.
And Dame willed his team to get in. Let's be honest. He gave you a 3 or 4 game stretch that was something like we never saw.
Yeah.
So, Skip Bayless is just being petty, but this is the same guy, Skip Bayless, who was petty on LeBron James, the king, and tried to convince us for about 10 seasons that LeBron James wasn't one of the greatest players of all time. So I have to go with Shannon Sharp, or someone he calls Lil Shannon, who says that he thinks LeBron James is the GOAT. Skip could be petty, and I think Skip is just being petty again because Dame Dollar has been putting in work. And I say that in all due respect to Devin Booker, but what Dame did to wheel them into the playoffs, to win the play-in game, is just phenomenal. That's how you win the MVP.
Yeah. That's called putting the team on your back. So you gotta respect Dame for what he did. But it was a lot of people hooking. You got T.J. Warren, you got James Harden, Devin Booker, of course. So I mean, everybody has their opinion, but I think ultimately getting your team into the playoffs, putting them on your back like that, you gotta respect that.
Yeah, especially, and they weren't the 8th seed coming into it. They had to catch Memphis. So that's another feather in their cap. They had to play themselves into the playoff games, play-in game, play themselves into the playoffs. So Skip just, doing what Skip Bayless does, poking that bear a little bit. So, Mike Burr, what else you got, brother?
Yeah, so we got our playoff contest coming up. Get your picks in. We'll leave the full rules in the description, but it's simple. All you do is pick your team, the number of games you think it'll take them to win. Do that for each matchup. We'll be adding up the points at the end of the first round, and by the end of the finals, you'll win a free gift if you're the winner. So definitely get your picks in. Drop them in the YouTube comments.
All right. Super producer April, I know you got some more facts for us. Hit us up.
Yeah, so we just talk about a couple of NBA firings, and then NFL did something pretty cool today. Alvin Gentry of the New Orleans Pelicans head coach was fired, as well as shout out to the Chicago Bulls for finally firing Jim Boylan.
Wow. Yeah, the rebuild is finally underway. They redid the front office earlier this year.
You talking about the Bulls?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was only a matter of time until they had to get a new coach too. So I think this is exciting. It's gonna be interesting to see who they hire. It's a lot of good candidates out there. I know you have some opinions on that.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Boland, he was a good stopgap, a good dude. Like, everybody knows he's a good guy, but, we knew he was going to get fired. Same with Alvin Gentry. The New Orleans Pelicans just looked atrocious, to be honest, in the bubble. They really underachieved. People had a lot of high hopes that maybe they could make a run and try to work themselves into the playoff race, but they just didn't have it. They didn't look well in the bubble playoffs at all, and I think that kind of sealed Alvin Gentry's fate. But he's been a lifelong NBA guy. He'll be fine. Maybe he'll go into the booth and do some broadcasting. Maybe he'll show up as an assistant coach. But the bubble basically sealed his fate. They just didn't look good. They didn't have it. So, those are two teams that have a lot of potential. The Bulls, they can only go up. I mean, they didn't make the bubble. That's a hometown team, but they just haven't been worth watching the last couple of seasons. And then the Pelicans, you have Zion, you have a lot of other young talent, so it could be a fresh new start for them. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it definitely will be.
All right, April, anything else?
Yeah, 2 more things really quickly. The Washington football team hires Jason Wright, who will be the first Black NFL president. So he'll be over marketing, business divisions, operations, finance, and sales.
Nice.
He spent 7 years as an NFL running back, then got his MBA from University of Chicago. Then he worked for McKinsey & Company, one of the best and top consulting firms. So that's pretty dope. And then Des Bryant.
What?
is working out with the Baltimore Ravens this week.
Whoa. Blast from the past. There's Brian used to get it in. He used to get it in. That might be nice. I would love to see him in the league again.
Yeah, I like Washington. Obviously, they're doing a big rebranding right now, so it kind of makes sense. And he seems like a well qualified guy. Has to do some more research on him, but that's an exciting step. He's the first black president of operations, right?
First black NFL president. Yep.
Yeah, that's dope. And then Dez Bryant, that's, because he's a guy, you don't need him to play 40 snaps. You just need him for 1 or 2 snaps a game. You just throw him in there, and he's going to attract attention from the DB. He's still big. He's still physical. He probably lost a little bit of his speed. I'm not sure. He hasn't played in a while, but he's still a big target. And in the way the Ravens run their offense, he's a strong run blocker. So that's an exciting move if they end up signing him.
Nice. I love we threw in a little NFL, which is coming soon. We're rocking the NBA right now, but we gonna talk about the NFL, Major League Baseball, hockey, esports, tennis, golf. We just love sports on this podcast, so you can get a little bit of all of it. So hey, that's our podcast. Get in the contest, subscribe. Hit the like button. You can check us out on all social media. Share it with a friend. I hope you enjoyed it. We definitely want to hear what you have to say. We definitely want to hear your picks. The first round of the NBA playoffs are on and popping. So we're going to have a good time. It's going to be fun. Glad you tuned in. We got more coming later. Mike Burr, drop the beat.